Okay, we're going to go over 3 learning goals right now. We're going to go over how to create a cash flow timeline, uh, how to compute the future value of money, and show how the power of compound interest increases wealth. These are learning goals for Chapter 4, the first 3 learning goals for Chapter 4 for those of you that are taking my finance class. So let's go ahead and we're going to do it by doing some examples on Excel. And I have the first problem already written in here that we're going to work on. And so the first one, it reads, show the timeline for a $1,000 cash inflow today, a $1,210 cash flow outflow 2 years from now at a 10% interest rate. So, what are we given? We're given N as 2 years. The interest rate is 10%. The present value, well, this is money coming into my pocket, so it's going to be a positive $1,000. There's no payment. And in the future, after 2 years, I'm going to have to spend, or a cash flow out of my pocket is going to be negative $1,210. So this is basically what we're given. So we want to find the timeline. So in Excel, if you're going to draw a timeline, I like to use this little draw border tool. And before I do that, I usually like to do some type of line style. Make it like a thicker line, possibly like this dark one down here. And when you click on that, it's going to bring up this little pencil. So I'm getting a cash inflow today for $1,000. So that's going to be money coming into my pocket. It's a positive cash flow. So I click on this. And then it's going to be for 2 years. So you click here and here. And then after 2 years, then I'm going to have an outflow, a downward outflow. And to get out of this drawing mode, I'm going to go ahead and escape. And then out here, I'm going to label it. So I'm going to say this is equal to $1,000. All right. And this is time 0, time 1, time 2. And over here, I'm going to say this equals a negative 12/10. So I want to make this negative positive because of this pointing down already shows that it's negative. So I want to label it as a positive number. So let me repeat that. This down arrow already means it's negative. So when I said equals, I made a negative as a positive, so I made it negative. And finally, we want to put the rate here. So we say the rate is equal to 10%. So that would be the answer to that problem. So I'm going to highlight the answer yellow. So that would be a timeline. So I'm getting an inflow of $1,000 over 2 years. After the 2 years, I have to pay back $210 worth of interest, which is 10%. The first year is going to be $100, so I'm going to have $1,100. And then 10% on $1,100 is an additional $110. So that's going to end up being $1,210. $100 this year and $110 that year. So that's basically what's going on. All right, so let's go ahead and do learning goal 2. Remember, learning goal 2 was compute the future value of money. So let's go here. We have an example. So let's read the problem. I guess we'll go ahead and start out with a given. We're going to fill that in. All right, so I'm just kind of getting rid of some of the formats in here. All right, so where we're given, it says, what is the future value of $1,500 deposited for 1 year, earning a 12% annual interest rate? Okay, so again, I'm going to go ahead and draw the timeline first. So I'm going to go line style. I'm going to go thick again, and I'm going to deposit money, so that's money coming out of my pocket. It's going to be for 1 year, and then I'm going to get money back. Okay, I'm going to hit escape to get out of that, and I'm depositing $1,500, and this is 0 and 1, And then this is what we want to know. We want to know how much money we're going to get back. And the interest rate is 12%. Now make sure you type the percent, because otherwise Excel is going to think it's 12. If you type percent, 12, Excel thinks it's 0.12. And let's go ahead and put this in the way your calculator, the way you might put it in a financial calculator. Financial calculators, you're going to have N, R, PV, PMT, and future value. Okay, so the N is equal to our 1 year. The R is equal to 12%. The present value is equal to, so if we're depositing, which way is this pointing? It's pointing down. So essentially this is positive, but here I want to make it negative because it's a cash outflow. So I'm going to say a negative this, and then the payment is 0, and the future value is what we not want to know. So I'm going to go ahead and say, what do I want to find? I want to find the future value. So I'm just going to go equals this. Oop. I'm going to go here, I'm going to go equals this, and I'm going to copy it over. So let me do some solutions. I'm going to do several different solutions. That way you can see the different ways you can solve this. It's always good to know more than one way to solve it. We can do the intuitive solution. We can say the future value is equal to, well, it's equal to the $1,500 we started with, plus the interest on $1,500. So it's going to be equal to this again, times 12%. And you're going to get $1,680, right? Also, you could do it using an equation. You're using the finance equation, and the finance equation, it looks like that. Okay, and the way you do that, you would say it equals the present value, which is again, I'm not going to use this negative because this is math, right? So it doesn't. Excel or your financial calculator thinks like this, but math, it just uses this. So I'm going to say a negative this to make this positive, and then times parentheses 1 plus, and my R is 12%. And I don't really have to take it to the first power, but we'll just go ahead and do it anyway, just to be technically correct, to the nth power, and that would be your answer. Okay, let me paint that format down. You know, I'm going to put the formula in here. Okay, so that's the way you use the equation. Now this is if you're going to be an equation you're going to memorize in finance, that would be the one you'd want to memorize. The future value equals the present value. That's a very handy equation. Probably that is the main finance equation. We could also use the Excel future value function. Okay. Normally using the Excel future value function, you could go up here if you don't know the function. I can go up here. I could click this f of x, and then go into financial functions, and scroll down until I see future value, and then OK. And this function argument box will come up. The first thing it asks for is a rate, so I'm going to click on 12%. It asks for the number of periods. I'm going to click on the 1. It asks for the payment. We'll click on 0. If I leave that blank, it'll assume 0, but we'll just go ahead and click on 0 anyway. And it asks for the present value. And Excel knows, it thinks like this cash flow diagram, right? So our timeline. So I can just click on that. And it already knows if that's negative, the answer is going to be positive because it thinks about it that way. Type, don't worry about it for right now. And we go OK, and that's the way you do it on Excel. You could also do it in Excel just by going equals future value, and then it asks you down here what you want. The rate, you just you click on here, click on the number of periods. That's the next. What does it ask for the payment? Well, we could type in 0 or just skip it by hitting a comma, and then the next thing is bold is present value. I click on that. And then type, I said leave it alone, so don't worry about it. And really, you don't even have to do the closing parentheses if it's a built-in Excel function. I can just hit enter at this point, and it knows enough to close the parentheses and give us the same answer. Okay, so that's learning goal 2. So let's look at learning goal 3. Learning goal 3 is show the power of compound interest, how it increases wealth. Okay, so if you go, I have a problem here we can look at. Okay, so we're given. Go ahead and start with given again. And it says how much would be in your savings account 20 years after depositing $500 today if the bank pays 8.5% per year. So again, we could do a timeline. So I'm going to go ahead and click on here and go to line style, and we'll go ahead and leave that one. So we're going to deposit $500. So that's money out of our pocket. And then I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, skip 1 and go 1, 2, and then go up. Okay. And then I'm going to hit escape. And we're putting in $500. And this is year 0, 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to go dot, dot, dot. And then this will be year 19 and 20. And we want to know how much we're going to have when we're done. And the interest rate is 8.5%. Okay. If I do it, I'm going to go back here and copy this so I don't have to type it again. I'm going to go copy here. And we'll go ahead and put paste. And N is equal to 20. R is equal to 8.5. The present value is equal to, okay, so this is pointing down, so I want to make it negative. So I'm going to say negative this. The payment is 0, and the future value is what we want to know. And we want to find, again, I'm going to say, hold and underline. I want to find that. Let me copy that across. So for a solution, I guess we go solutions, because I'm going to do more than one way. Let's go ahead and first we'll use the equation. Okay, so you say future value is equal to, again, since we're using an equation, I'll just go ahead and click on this one now since it's already positive. Or I could just say negative this, okay, times parentheses 1 plus the rate parentheses to the 20 years. And let's go ahead and format that as dollars. You don't need that bold and underline. We could also do it using the Excel function. Okay, so the Excel function would be, there you go, equals FV parentheses. Now if I wanted to bring that argument box, I can use this little thing here. See how it's bold again, and I can use that. If I want to bring out the argument box, I could click on this, and it brings it up after you go equals FV. After you open this parentheses, if I click that, that'll come up. But I normally don't use it because it's asked me down below. I already kind of know how it works. The rate is here. Number of periods is here. Payment is here. Present value is here. And it's the same answer. Another way I could do it is I could do it using Excel the long way, just to show you what's happening. Okay, and if what I could do, let me copy this format. I'll make it italic. Okay, so the long way I could say year and balance, and I'll go for year 0, and my balance in year 0 is equal to, we'll just say a negative this because I want to start out with a positive number. And then in year 1, well, how much? So I'm going to use this equation right here. So I could say it's equal to this whatever is above it times 1 plus this interest rate. Now I'm going to copy this down because I want it to look above here, but this one I want to always look here. This one, as I copy it down, I want it to look in the one above, but this one I always want it to look at 8.5. So I'm going to hit F4, or I can type the dollar signs in manual, or hit F4, and then close it, and then I'm just going to hit Enter. Oh, I forgot to put a time symbol here. Common Excel mistake. I always put a time symbol somewhere. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and highlight these and make them currency. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight these. And how many years am I going? I'm going down to 20. So I'm going to highlight this until it says 20. Okay, so all you do is you highlight the first two to give Excel an idea. And as you drag down, it says where it's going to let off. Then I can go here. If I double click, it's going to copy that formula all the way down. And on the 20th year, there's my answer. And that's the same thing as that and that, right? So I have the same answer in all three. So that's a long ways to do it. Let me put the equals. Okay. Now what's interesting here, learning goal 3 says show the power of compound interest. So let's say I have a credit card and I have a bunch of credit cards and I'm maintaining a $10,000 balance on those credit cards. And the interest rate on a credit card might be, say, 22%. So how much interest? So when you have these things, that normally means you need to increase the width, right? So you can just double click here. So I pay over 20 years, if I maintain a $10,000 balance on my credit cards over 20 years at 22%, I will have spent $500,000. So, you know, the original $10,000 is all I got, but I gave the credit card company over $500,000 interest. So that shows you the power of compound interest, right? And you know, our example, we had 8.5%. You know, a lot of credit cards are that high. They're 22%. So that's kind of a lesson right there. All right. So let's go ahead and do one last problem, and then we'll close the video. We want compounding with different interest rates. And this is also learning goal 3. So I'm just going to do it really quickly because this video is getting kind of long. So as given, we have I'm just going to do it in this form, and I'm not going to do the diagram, N and then R, and then present value, and then PMT, and then future value, right? And then N is 3 years, right? R is 8.5%, and it's also the next year is 6.9%. Read the problem, you'll understand what I'm doing. And then the next one is 10.5%. So the different rates on each year. So how do you calculate that? So we know the present value is, it's a deposit, so you're depositing money, so that's a negative $750 depositing. You're not making any payments, and we want to know how much you're going to have in the end. We can go find, and if I copy this format, if I go find, I'm just going to go equals this. Since it's relative, I can copy this over. And for a solution, so the first solution I'm going to do is I'll just show you how to do it using an equation. So using this equation, I go equals the present value. Again, we want to make that positive, so I'm going negative this, times parentheses 1 plus, and I'm going to start out with this one, and it's going to be times parentheses 1 plus this one times parentheses 1 plus that one. So I'll be taking it times itself 3 times. That's with the third power. But I'll be using a different interest rate each time. So instead of being the same one to the third power, I got to take different ones each time. And that would give you an answer. And let me format that. So that would be the answer using an equation. You could also do it using Excel. So like I say, using Excel, and let me delete these. So my first year, I know I'm going kind of fast, but you can pause it and put this in. So my first year is equal to a negative this, right? And then after the first year, it's going to be equal to this times 1 plus times parentheses 1 plus this parentheses. Okay, and I can drag this down, and if I double click on this, you see this is pointing in the wrong spot. So I would just drag it over to here. And if I click on this, I see this is pointing in the wrong spot, and I drag it to here. And then if I go equals formula text, then you can see now I have each one of these pointing to the interest rate, and my answer is right here. And that's how you do that one. So I know I went kind of fast on the last problem, but I didn't want this video to last too much longer. We already spent a little bit over 20 minutes. So hopefully that kind of got you an idea on how to do this. You can also use a financial calculator. Financial calculators typically have these 5 keys on them, and you put 4 of them in, and you solve for the 5th one. So financial calculators are very easy to use also. I won't do that in this video. I wanted to, but we ran out of time. So hopefully that helps. If you're doing this for class, again, I expect every student to do this on their own. Submit their own spreadsheet. I can tell if you guys copied. And you don't want to do that. All right, thank you. Bye.